Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Go Go Loser Ranger Season 2, Episode 10. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, let's start off with the Blue Squad. Izumi's kind of leading the charge because she does not recognize Izumi does not recognize what's his name, Soma, as like the real Blue, because it's like, right, obviously she cherished the first Blue, and he's the one that Soma's the one that does stuff only for money. Even he's like, oh, I guess with the organization basically being disbanded like it is, I guess I won't really get any paid hefty for my appearances. And so for her, it's like, fine, I will go out there and eradicate all monsters, because that's the stance that Blue had, and she's inherited that kind of as a second. But there's also the element of she wants to take out her anger on all the monsters, because she can't really do it. I mean, I'm sure she directly wants to take out Petrola, but it's like all monsters are responsible. And once again, it's her carrying his torch, but also it's the thing that keeps her going. But just like, I need to kill all monsters, so. They're dealing with some monsters, and they run into that couple that's been a part of the monster protection society. I'm like, who the hell is this couple? And they're just kind of like, oh, we should probably get out of here, because it seems like they're not down for the society. But then it's revealed that they're not just monsters, they're already monsters, which I thought was interesting. And they fuse together and they turn into that monster we got introduced to a couple episodes ago, the one that opens portals. Because at first I was like, oh, is that what Hualipan looks like? But no, that's not. It was in fact two separate monsters. In fact, technically three, because that creature, those two couples are two separate monsters that fuse together into one. One's a rabbit and the other one's a monkey. Which I was like, oh, that's so fascinating. But it's actually really interesting because when you go back to episode 8, the entire Monster Society group was there with the exception of X's and those two. So now, but it's like, oh, because they were there the entire time. Because it doesn't seem like they've taken injections, because every other time we've seen like the injections come up. So I think that really is those two monsters like living as those are the bodies they took as a couple, which I think is really interesting. I'm like, oh, so they're the lovey-dovey monster, because even they're like, well, we kind of don't want to fight you guys. In fact, you kind of saved our lives, so we kind of want to just let you go. But Izumi wasn't just going to let that happen. But that's so fascinating to know, like, oh, they were just monsters the entire time. And it's just like, it seems like I don't think it's the one-to-one, but it almost feels like they've taken a little bit of a Fighter D's philosophy, where he's kind of enjoying some of like the benefits of pretending to be a human and stuff like that. He's enjoying some of the human elements. It seems like they have as well, because it's like, hey, we get to live in comfort and just do whatever we want to. We don't feel driven. I guess they just kind of go with the flow of things, because they're like, well, this Monster Society thing is interesting. Maybe just like Yakushi was like originally like getting to Fighter D, that maybe now it's like he was able to kind of do a similar thing to convince them, but they don't seem to have any full-blown loyalty to this organization. So we kind of rewind in a flashback and kind of see the connection between Izumi and Soma, because I don't know if she was at that time she was already the right hand to Blue. I think she probably was, because their relationship runs deep. But like Soma seemed to be like a right-handish dude as well. I guess like where she's probably the right hand, he was more like the left hand. But they ended up fighting and defeating the monster, that octopus-esque monster that woman turned into last episode, the one that makes it so you can't attack it without its attacks reflecting you. He's the one that suggested to Blue, like, hey, try to aim for me, I'll dodge your lance and you'll kill this thing, which he does, because it seems like that creature and Blue have history. Because that's not the same creature that pretended to be that. No, I can't remember if that's the same creature. I think it was a separate creature, wasn't it? The one that that was pretending to be that guy that betrayed Blue and his people and killed all of them. I don't think that was the same creature. I don't remember. Because we saw it in season 1 when we saw Blue's past. I just don't remember if that was the same boss monster or not. Because I think he killed that boss monster in that instance, and because it was under different circumstances how he killed that monster versus how this one got killed. So I don't think it was the same boss monster. But Soma does step up, and he is like, right, like they don't have Blue's divine artifact because that was snatched up in the aftermath of everything last season, and so all he has is like his like divine artifact, the one with the knuckles, and it's like, oh, yours is freezing. He's like, oh, you know my trick, but they're like, wait, it didn't activate. He's like, oh no. Like, if you're an amateur, you're not going to be able to properly use that divine artifact's power. He's like, when I freeze things, I freeze the entire world. And so he's freezing everything, including the Blue Squad, and he gets them out of there. He made like a tactical retreat. He's like, if it was just me, I probably could have beat that thing, but I had to make sure you guys were okay, so I let it get away. Which it wasn't going after them and pursuing them, because after that, it probably was like, well, we didn't really want to fight anyway, so let's bounce. So Izoma says like, right, I don't like, still don't see you as like, I don't accept you as Blue, but she kind of does, because despite his personality, she sees that when the time comes, he does step up, because it's not just her carrying on Blue's torch, it's him as well. So I guess it's almost going to be a thing of them together will make Blue. So I almost wonder if it's supposed to be symbolic that they went up against a boss monster that's basically made up of two, and these two together kind of represent Blue because they're both carrying on his torch in a lot of ways. She had to deal with the hard-headed and stubbornness of the other Blue, but now she has to deal with Soma's hard-headedness, where he's just kind of like, I'd rather run away and just get paid, you know? So anyway, thought that was fascinating. Then we had Chidori facing off against that other monster, which apparently he has history of it. I think I brought that up last episode too, that I think it's so fascinating that when the humans turn into these boss monsters, they actually become them, because it's like all that they are, their essence, is written in their encoded DNA. So the moment it came back, it's like, wait, Greenkeeper. It's like, oh, you remember me the last time I subjugated you. And he activates his divine artifact, and he goes full Ant-Man, Giant Man mode, where he just like embiggens and then like smashes it. So that was dealt with relatively easy. I guess since we caught up with Yellow last episode, we're not bothering to see what he's up to post him and his right-hand person escaping from Magatia's illusion. Which, speaking of, we have Tokita like refusing to go down. I don't remember if we knew he was from Blue's orphanage. Well, not the Blue that we came to know, but the guy that was basically Blue's dad, who was the previous Blue before him. I think I completely forgot that Sesera and Hibiki were at that orphanage too, because we learned that last season as well. Maybe not. Maybe I don't know if we knew Sesera was there. I'm pretty sure we knew Hibiki was there. We probably knew about Tokita as well. I just didn't remember. But yeah, like the two red squad members there ended up killing him. Granted, they got pretty jacked up in all of it, but I think there's a part of him that, despite their complicated history, he admires Hibiki and Sesera. I don't know if something that came up this episode really quickly. I don't know how much people knew already about Sesera being the Pink Keeper versus because Hibiki's like, big sis, and I was like, wait, you always knew? But then I was like, all right, I forgot. Literally all of the Dragon Keepers revealed themselves a couple weeks ago. So I was like, oh, it's not really like out of nowhere. Was that episode 8 they revealed themselves? So I'm curious, did Hibiki already know? And did Tokita already know? Or did they both find out because of that? Face reveals, essentially. So other than that, we have Utsukubo's dad meeting with Hibiki and Hisui, and he's offering them a chance. It's like, right, like the Dragon Keepers, like the Ranger Force came here with like barely like 40 people, and like I have thousands of I have like 1,000 kaiju that was spread out in the world, and with the boss monsters we have on our side, there's no way to win. But even Hisui's like, wow, I was actually expecting the number be way lower than that. So, but he's like, right, you might as well choose the monster side. That way we can really live human and monster in harmony. And now we've seen the world the way that humans have run it, time to kind of pass it over to monsters. And he's like, honestly, it'd be easy to take this power and do that. But she's like, nah, but I'm not going to sacrifice my principles. She's like, don't underestimate us humans. So she says no to that. And he's just like, all right, you'll come to regret that. You'll see. So we'll see how that plays out. But then Exus shows up and gets them out of there. And Exus is like, oh, I want to show you something. And I guess it was more specifically like the whole battle being what it is. And, you know, it's the antithesis of everything. I don't know if the I was confusing myself in my head. I was kind of thinking I was using the word antithesis wrong. But yes, it is applicable in the situation. But yeah, this whole thing, like the fight that's going on, is everything that he's against. And she kind of wanted to wake him up. It's like, this is kind of the reality of things. And even he's like, if you kind of can't face the reality of it, then go home and go to sleep, you know? And Exus wants him. She's like, you need to just leave this alone. Go away and survive. She's like, if you want to, I will literally beat the living shit out of you until you're an inch within your life if it means you survive. And it's like, yeah, it is interesting how she does care for Hibiki like that. But yeah, at the same time this is going down, his sister is fighting Hualipan. And at first I was wondering, is he going to have like multiple clones or something? But it seemed like he only had one clone. I felt bad for all those Rangers who were... I wonder where her right hand is, because he wasn't there. The big guy, who was Sesera's right-hand guy, he wasn't there. Those other... I wonder, did he quit or something for him not to be there? Because like a good chunk of like... the right-hand people to all of the, well, it's hard to say with Red, because Red constantly kills his right-hand people. But, like, the other, like, kind of close right-hands are kind of there. I was also about to say, I was like, oh, we saw Red this little bit this episode, but we didn't know where he is. I was like, all right, I forgot. Last episode ended with him showing up where Suzukiri is, so... we'll probably have to wait till the next episode to find out like how that situation concluded. So, because I don't remember, I was about to say I don't remember where Fighter D is, but if I remember correctly, he's fighting Uskubo, Angel. He's fighting her. I think that's the last place we left off of those two. But getting back to it, Hualipan, I guess, only had the one clone. Oh yeah, the point I was making too was he's killing all those pink people, and it's like, oh, it seems like he can kind of possess their bodies, like he's getting them to like decapitate each other, and he's kind of puppeteering the bodies. And yeah, Pink goes up against him and he slices off her head. I was like, there's no way it's going to be that easy. So what's going on? And she's like, yeah, it's like a 3-second rule. I guess her power is like anything done in 3 seconds, she can immediately reverse. So it's like, yeah, you cut off my head and then I didn't let it drop because of the 3-second rule. So she's also ridiculously strong. I do think it's poetic, and I think that's kind of the point, that other parts of her body are strong, but specifically her legs are, because she even says in the past, like her legs are the thing she was always allotted for and praised for, and that being the irony that she, despite her legs having decent enough form after the accident, after the whole thing went down at that religious monster church, that she would never be able to walk again. But it was her belief to keep going and her brother's belief that his sister would walk again. So I wonder, like, is her powers as a dragon keeper the only thing that lets her walk? Because like she still is in the wheelchair, so that's why I'm like, I don't know if like maybe when she's doesn't have her powers activated, she can't walk. Because I'd almost wondered too, like, do you think there's a possibility of like there's always part of the divine artifact that is perpetually healing her legs to keep her mobile? I highly doubt it. It probably is just the Dragon Keeper suit kind of makes it so she can move. Like an example I was going to use is like Naruto. You know how like there's a portion of Naruto's chakra that is perpetually siphoned away from him to keep the Kyuubi, Kurama, sealed away. So I was wondering if it was something similar like that, where there's always a portion of her divine artifact that does that, but probably not. But yeah, she's whooping on Hualipan because like she is a pretty tough customer until Hibiki shows up and gets cut deep. And for her, it's like, right, Hibiki, I can sustain anything if it's for you. And so she basically regenerates him instead of herself. Because we don't know what the limit... Well, it seems like the limitation is like it can only rewind recent things, because Wally Pond even noticed it. He's like, oh, you rewound, like, because I cut your face and then I cut off your arm, but the cut on your face is still there, because she can only rewind one, as he says, like, phenomenon, like, at one time. So if I get cut, if I lose my left arm and then my right arm, I will only be able to regenerate my right arm because it was the most recent thing. So that's interesting. And so she used her powers to resurrect Hibiki, undo his damage. And so X's ended up helping him, putting the weapon into burst form mode, and he stabs Wally Pond. And Wally Pond's like, well, that's still not good enough despite that. But the problem is, he already sustained a critical amount of damage from one of her blows, and so that kind of gave the opening for the weapon to do even more damage, and it ends up killing Wally Pond, which I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting you to bite the dust. I thought you were going to be sticking around. I mean, you're the one that gloating, like, yeah, I finally fulfilled one of my missions, especially because you've been such a recurring thing. I was like, I was not expecting you to bite the dust at all. I thought you'd be kind of like a continuous threat. But it's like, no, you've bit the dust. Granted, just because of that, that doesn't mean he can't come back because of these, like, syringes and stuff. So it's possible to recreate, but that might not be applicable going forward, because I think, I don't know if, like, Dai was one of the main people responsible for making these syringes happen, or at least Usukabo's dad was. And when this is all said and done, this group is going to get wiped, because, like, every other member is dead now, with the exception of those two, but they were kind of off on their own thing. The other members, who are kind of like the main board members, are all dead now. The only people left are the Uskabos, is Angel and her dad. So Wally Pond is dead. And, you know, it's like, oh, I got revenge for my sister. I was like, wow, is she really dead? And he looks over and she's not dead. Luckily, he didn't, like, dismember her or anything. He heavily wounded her, so her powers can't heal her wounds, but she's tough enough to walk away. I mean, when you consider everything that she's been through, how much she's pushed herself, it's like, right, I gotta stick it with the the keepers, with the Ranger Force, because it's basically her way of protecting, like, his form of justice to Hibiki's. It's like, I'm trying to protect it all, so that you're in a position that you can fight the fight that you want to fight. I'm curious what that means if she ever runs into her brother again, because, I mean, will D keep being Hibiki going forward? Because his sister's gonna be like, yo, like, wasn't your face jacked up the last time we met? So but also, because now D knows that Hibiki's sister is pink, so I don't know. We'll see where things kind of go on that front, if they ever cross paths again. I mean, she still will want to be around her brother, so, like I said, it just depends on if D continues to be Hibiki going forward, I guess. But then we got the stinger of twofold. One, Petrola shows up. And I was curious about it, because it seemed like, well, I was like, well, Exis seems like herself. It doesn't seem like Petrola's in her body. But to be fair, by the end of season 1, she was still herself, even with Petrola in her. But he's like, yo, Exis, what are you doing? So I wonder if this whole adventure, or, like, expedition she was on, connected to the monster protection group. Like, I mean, what was her purpose of coming here? Like, did she come here because Petrola asked her to, or did she come here of her own volition? But I guess it's still the thing of, no, why are you working with this human? Why are you helping them? So, and the fear in her eyes where he's strolling up. So it's not like she was already kind of not, she kind of chose his side last season, but I guess there's so much to fill in about, like, what they've been up to and where she stands. Because it feels like she might be on the opposite, well, in a similar pattern as, like, Fighter D, where he's just kind of like, screw both sides, both monsters and the humans, specifically the keepers. But it's like, right, he's still pro some of the Ranger Force, but also, you know, his main issue is with the boss monsters, and not, like, all monsters. So there's that. And then finally we have the end where Usukabo's dad transforms into a monster. And I guess that's the thing from the intro. Like, in the intro where Wally Pond's on the escalator, and there's that thing that's kind of got tails behind it. We see it from behind, but we don't see its face. It's also, I think, the same monster that transformed when it's like the Zord's giant mech Zord thing versus that giant monster, you know, very Power Rangers. Well, I think that's probably just Sentai stuff in general, but once again, my point of view, because I'm not as well versed in other Sentais other than Power Rangers. But I'm sure that's like Usukabo's dad. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes up and plays out. Next episode's the penultimate episode of the season, so that's going to be really interesting to see what goes down and how much that carries over into the season finale. So yeah, I'm excited to see what happens next. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.